you're like me, it seems like I can never find the perfect camera bag, but I think this might just be the solution. All right, so right here we have the Nanuk 935 case. I've been using this case for over a year now to carry all my camera gear for my personal and professional shooting. In this video, we're gonna be chatting about why I choose this case over other camera bags, as well as other case options on the market. I'm not sure about you, but it seems no matter the size, price point, or the quality of the camera bag, it just never seemed to hit all of the points that I was looking for to carry my gear. Through this search, as I used a bunch of different bags, I'll show you a photo of all the bags that I've had over the last couple of years, that I found hard cases. And I should have probably looked into this a little bit sooner, given the type of work that I do in the outdoors and in harsh conditions. But eventually I stumbled on Nanuk, which is a Canadian company, and eventually the 935 case, which brought me here today.
Let's start off with what I like about this case and why the Nanuk 935 over other options. First, the reason that I chose this size specifically and why the 935 is so popular is just the size of it. This is carry-on compatible, so that is a big reason why I went with this case as my first hard case. I can take this when I'm traveling internationally or throughout Canada here, chuck it in the overhead bin, and it's not gonna cause any problems. Almost all airlines allow me to take this as a carry-on. So just like a backpack, I can chuck that in the overhead bin, don't have to check it through, and I can still fit most of my stuff in here. Secondly, goes along with fitting stuff, and that is actually how much I can fit in here. Like I said, I've been using this case for over a year now, and I've got this insert as well as these compartments up here basically figured out to exactly how much I can fit. And after using it for a while, this has become my favorite option just because of how much I can fit in here for being a carry-on compatible box. Thirdly is the build quality overall. The latches is a big thing that I've had issues with on not only my camera bags, with zippers and stuff like that, but other hard cases. I've broke cases like this on competitor brands where the latches just don't last very long, as well as the handles start to get flimsy over time. This one also comes with really nice rubber wheels, which roll over different surfaces, and especially make your life easier when you have to go over trails and gravel stuff. You don't necessarily want to carry and roll it for that long on like dirt, nasty surfaces for the bearings and such, but this one can handle it. I've taken it through snow, parking lots, everything kind of in between when you're traveling around. It's especially nice to have those wheels when you're going through the airport. You don't have to carry it on your back. This also goes to say is the waterproofing. So this is a specific rating. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but it's fully waterproof. So I can toss this in a canoe, not have to worry about it at all if we're gonna flip or anything, as long as it's latched fully like this. The 2-stage latches up tight, and I don't have anything breaking the seal inside. I don't have to worry at all if this box is going to get wet. And for me, who's always shooting outside, frequently in a boat or near the river or something like that, worrying about my camera bag maybe falling in or the zippers not being done up, I don't have to worry about that at all. So the build quality along with that waterproofing is a nice kind of saving grace when I don't have to worry about my gear when I'm out shooting. My last reason for pros of why I like this case so much is just trust. I've used this case for over a year now, and I use it nearly every day, if not about 5 days a week. I'm taking this, tossing it in the back of my truck, sometimes chucking it in the box of my truck where it's getting banged around, throwing it on the back of a snowmobile, ATV, you name it, and this case has worked flawlessly. I haven't had one single issue. All of the zippers work inside here. All of the compartments stay in their place where I wanted to. None of my gear has gotten damaged inside, and the biggest thing is these latches have not broken. So trust is a big thing, especially after testing gear, and why I wanted to make this video. After a time of using it, I didn't come out a couple weeks after getting the case and make a review. This is actually from my perspective of using this case professionally and personally for a long time now. Before we get too far into the video, imagine that you're watching this because you're kind of looking at purchasing a Nanuk case, maybe the 935 or one of the other options. I just wanted to let you know that if you use my code Dustin30, you'll get 30% off. I normally wouldn't bring that up, but this is a significant discount, so I wanted to make sure that that was an option, and it was early enough in the video so that you can go and use that if you want to. Bit of a disclosure, I did get this case for free. Nanuk has no input into this video at all. They did not ask me to make this video. It was purely an exchange that we did, and I have really liked this product, so I wanted to make this video, and I asked for a discount code for my audience after a long time of using this. So use that code Dustin30 if you want to save 30% off any purchase on the Nanuk site. I'll have a link down in the description as well as the code there so you don't forget it. Now for the good stuff, I'm going to switch the angle up here and just talk through you while I show with my hands, and we're going to look inside the case here into the storage options that this case allows. Now, before we go into our padded camera area, which all of the cases have, Something that's unique with the Nanuk 935 and the Pro Photo Kit, which is pictured here, is this zippered organizer up here. This is actually probably one of my favorite aspects of the case, beyond like just the quality and how much I can fit. And part of how much I can fit is because of this geared organizer here. Firstly, we've got a laptop sleeve up top here. I'm using a book today to kind of show you what would be fitting in there because my laptop is unavailable at the moment, but that can fit back up in there. Sometimes I can even fit my iPad Pro as well as my laptop in there if I don't have too much in the compartment. And then we have 3 zippered compartments here. First, I use this small one down here to store all my batteries. I think I can fit about 6 batteries in there if I kind of fit it right. You can see them kind of showing through there. And then I kind of move those up or down if they're empty or full, if I don't have it completely full. Next is another one, exact same size here. But today I have a filter, an ND filter. I have a battery for one of my monitors, as well as an Insta360 Ace Pro or something similar like a GoPro in here. And that fits vertically and zips right up there. No issue at all. And this is a bigger compartment over here where I kind of store the bigger items that I'm carrying. Normally I would have my shotgun mic, which is on the camera, but today I have my Rode Video Mic Go's in there. I have my mount for my other tripod in there. This is for my video tripod, so that's fairly big. And then I always keep my case for my SD cards in that one. But the reason I love having this organization pouches up here, and something that I didn't like about using other cases, is the fact that if you don't have these pouches built in, that all of these loose little parts, maybe you have SD cards, maybe you have batteries, are gonna be loose up in here. And that creates disorganization. And when you're shooting and you're losing a filter or losing a battery or an SD card in all of this shit down here, that is not a good way, and it's gonna ruin basically your shooting experience. So I really love this padded insert. But now we're into the good stuff, what we can actually fit into our padded insert for all of our good camera gear down here. So one of the best features of the Pro Photo Kit is the removable insert, and that it's customizable. As you can see, I can pull that out. You can take this completely out and put it into another case if you want, or use this case for just storage for other gear if you want to not have camera gear in there. But this is also fully customizable, and you can just slide it back in there. When you get this, it's just set up as the standard, and then you can move things around. One of the main problems for me is that I always carry a 200-600, which is a big lens, and it is a lens that doesn't fit in a lot of camera bags and a lot of camera cases. So let's show you everything that I carry in this case and how that I store it in there. First, we have the 200-600. I've got it here so the skinny end kind of fits where the wheel is. It's a little bit more narrow, and I've got that built out with nice padding here. I always slide this tripod foot to the back so that it kind of fits in this space, which is a little bit bigger. And then next, which I would normally have my A7 IV with a wide angle lens connected, I would put into this slot. I have that filming right now, so I'm gonna use a 70-300 by Sony for that example. Basically the same size, not quite as deep, but you can see that length there. Next is a lens that I always have with me as well. It's my Tamron 35-150. This is a big boy lens. You can see it's almost at least 2/3 of the length of my 200-600, and the barrel is quite big. That also has an ND filter on it, so it's quite a big, hefty lens to fit in there. And I've got this slot nice and fit for that, so it's not moving around at all. Next is going to be a prime lens of sorts. Switch that out for whatever other lens you want, basically in that size, 16-35, 85, any kind of lens that's gonna fit that. I slide that into this nice pocket right there. Today, I'm gonna be using my new purchase, which is a 1.4 times teleconverter for the 200-600. It's the same barrel width as all of these other lenses, just not as long, but I'm gonna pop that in there. I've also been putting a light just for selfie videos that fits on top of there, so it creates more storage. And then lastly is my other body, which is my Sony a7 III. Don't judge me for not having a cover on it right now, but that's gonna slide right in there. So as you can see, generally this kit has basically 1, 2, 3, 4 lenses and 2 camera bodies in there, as well as all of this storage up here. So that is quite a load. That's gonna basically cover all of my needs for photography and videography other than my tripod or lights. So that is why I choose this kind of configuration. I really like the fact that it fits this 200-600 though, most of all. Now that we've walked through basically how I fill this up with my camera gear, how I set it up, I just wanted to touch on a couple more things that I really like. Firstly is just the quality of these foam inserts. I've used other bags that kind of, the Velcro falls apart or they don't stick together. These ones seem to be really firm. They have kind of a solid inside to them. I don't know if it's plastic or a cardboard thing that's covered with all the padding, but they're actually quite stiff and they hold their form really well, which is something, especially for having a full box of gear. They're not very flimsy. They're actually holding that structure really well, and they're gonna hold my gear in place. Secondly is the padding is quite thick. It's firmer than other options that I've used, which I like as well, especially when you're forcing something in there or fitting into a tighter spot. It's actually keeping it in place and kind of forming around it. Lastly is the quality of the zippers. These things have been opened and shut a million times already, and they're not even showing any sign of wear. And then nice plastic here that you can see what's inside. So I can quickly reach in here when the box is open, and it's just gonna show me exactly what I have. I kind of know by feel now which spot's which, and I can grab it quickly. And then just generally overall, I leave this open. For some reason, it has some sort of a lock right there, whether it's in the hinges, it doesn't shut very easily, or it doesn't fall shut on itself very easily. As you can see, there's a little bit of resistance there. I like that, especially when I chuck it in the back of the truck. I can leave it open like this, rest it against the back of the seat. I can reach around the back, grab a lens that I need, or grab my big lens, which I'll sometimes just put like this with my camera body on it, and I got everything that I need quickly. Now for my use case of this case. I think that's a pun, but I'm not really sure. My use case of the 935. Now it probably sounds like I have a bit of a hate on for camera bags, and in some ways that I do, but since finding this, the Nanuk 935, it has kind of solved a lot of the issues that I didn't really like about camera bags in general. My general use case of the Nanuk 935 is taking it with me, chucking it in the back of my truck, and using it as my base camp, whether that's on a commercial shoot, whether I'm going hiking. I throw this in the back of my truck. I don't have to worry about it. And then when I get there, I'll have a littler camera bag or something smaller where I can take the little pieces that I want out of here. That allows me to have a base camp set up with everything that I might want for the day when I'm traveling around, when I'm driving. I can take this on the airplane, throw it in the overhead bin, and when I arrive, I have this set up in the hotel room. I've got all my chargers, everything I need, and I can check in another small camera bag in my luggage, and then I can fill in from there. This rolls around super easy, and it makes my life a lot easier just getting my gear place to place, and that's the thing that I really like about it. Last year we did a road trip down to Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park. This basically sat in the back seat the entire time. I was able to put all of the gear that I wanted for the whole trip in there, and I was able to just quickly grab and take what I needed to. If I had to put that in the box of the truck when we were full up with other stuff or picking up other people, I wasn't worried about it at all. And that is kind of the generalization of how I use this case in my workflow. The size of this one also fits really nicely into my office, and it hides away really easily when I'm not using it. So with all that positive talk, I'm sure you're expecting that there's gonna be some dislikes, and I have to be honest, I don't really have any specific dislikes with this product as the use case that I bought it for. I know how much I can fit in it now. The quality of it's really great, and I haven't had any issues with anything breaking or basically having any issues at all. But there are some things that I would be aware of if you're looking at purchasing the 935 case. So this one might be pretty obvious. Camera gear is not super light to begin with, but when you have a case that already weighs a certain amount of weight, which I'll put up on here at the screen, I don't know off the top of my head, and then you fill it up with all of this glass and all this camera gear and batteries and such, it does get to be kind of heavy. That's where it's nice to have those roller wheels. I'm not really carrying this around that much, but when I had to carry it for a longer distance, it does kind of get heavy, and especially if you only have one case, you're setting off balance, and that's when you could get those back issues that photographers always talk about. But just kidding. But the handles are super comfortable. But when you have to carry something like this, a certain distance, maybe it's through a super rocky trail or down to a river or something like that, it's not the most ideal situation, but I'm not gonna be using it for that very much. I just wanted you to be aware that it does kind of get hefty, and if you're planning on carrying it around and not using a camera bag, it may be not the best situation for you. But for everything else, if you're carrying it from the truck into an office or you're rolling it from spot to spot, perfect for that. My next kind of dislike or issue is not really with the case, but it's with what you're using it for. That would be the size of the case. I know what I can fit in here, and that works for me. But if you're wanting to use this for bigger productions or stuff like that, where you need to have lights, more monitors, more camera bodies, or larger camera bodies, the size might just not be big enough for you. So I personally pair the 935 with another case when I'm talking about commercial shoots and I need a little bit more space, and that is this one right here. You can see that size comparison. I'm obviously on the edge of a wide angle, so it's a little bit distorted, but this is pretty much the same construction, has the lid organizer with more space, but it has a 2-stage, 2-layer organizer for all of your camera gear. I can fit all of my camera gear in there, a couple of lights and everything else that I need. And paired with this, I can pretty much take everything that I want, but it's something to be aware of when we're talking about size. You can use this one for your today, and then you might want to have something a little bit larger if we're talking about commercial shooting. Let me know if you want to see a breakdown of the 965. That's another staple in my workflow basically, and I'm happy to make a video if you guys want to see that one. My lastly, not dislike, but something that might be on the thought process when you're purchasing this case is the price. So this case is just under $600 Canadian. And to a lot of people, that seems like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money when you're thinking of making maybe a less fun purchase. But the way I like to think about this is that is kind of like an insurance policy. This gear I've been using for 1 year, and I could not see why you wouldn't be able to have this for 10 years or even more. And this protects my gear every single day. So if I can spend that money to look after my gear and not have to worry about it, especially as a professional, that is kind of worth the cost. And if you break that cost down over multiple years or 10+ years, that's not gonna be much dollars per use. Especially if you use the discount code, 30% off is significant. And if you wanna purchase this or any of the other cases, maybe the 965 that I'm sitting on right now, use Dustin30 and you'll get 30% off your entire order. So my final conclusion, camera bags are not dead to me, but whenever I have the chance, I'm gonna be 100% using the Nanuk 935 or another hard case. It allows me to get my gear around really easily, as well as keeping it protected, which is a big part for me and why I like using the case. I throw it in the back of my truck, I throw it in whatever, throw it in the overhead bin, and then I get there, I can pull out the gear that I need, put it in the bag if I have to for easier transport for hiking and stuff like that. But when I wanna take everything with me, shooting from a truck, shooting from near the vehicle, or shooting in an office type situation, you can just roll it all in there. This one specifically suits my needs. There's gonna be options that are maybe better for you, and I think that's basically gonna make that purchase for you. There's tons of different sizes. Because I wanted the carry-on and because I've checked out some of the other options from different competitors that I didn't like as much, the Nanuk 935 really suits my personal needs, especially when I'm talking about carrying the 200 to 6 round all the time. That is one of the big selling points for me. What would you store in here? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below if this might be a good option for you. If there's something that I missed out on sharing, please drop a question and I respond to everybody down in the comments below.